Hey guys, Chapter 6, Section 2 video here for you today. Here is the essential question. How can you write and evaluate the nth root of a number? The nth root of a number. What does that even mean? Well, we've talked about square roots and we've talked about cubic roots. You really can take any root of a number. You can take the fourth root, the fifth root, the sixth root, and we're going to work on that today a little bit. Now, there's two types of questions we're going to see today. Some of them are going to say rewrite. Rewrite means to change how an expression or an equation looks. So it doesn't mean to solve it, it just means to change how it looks. But not actually solve or simplify it. Evaluate is a different direction though. Evaluate means to simplify or solve. So really, I think this whole part of this section comes down to reading directions. If you're supposed to rewrite, then that's what you need to do is change how it looks. But if you're supposed to evaluate, then you need to simplify or solve. So we're going to try some problems here. Our first example, our directions are to rewrite the expression in rational exponent form. So some standard directions. Now it says to rewrite, but it also says in rational, which I know means fraction, exponent, which means power. So really they want me to make it a fraction power, is all this says. So here are our two problems. We're going to do an A and a B. For A, we are going to rewrite the fourth root of 81. The fourth root of 81. So we don't have to solve it. All we have to do is change it to a fraction power. Well, that means 81 to the 1/4 power. That's it. I rewrote it. I'm done. How about this? I'm going to circle that. For B, we're going to rewrite the fourth root of 10 squared. Okay, so rewrite as a fractional power, the fourth root of 10 squared. Now we know fourth root means 10 to the 1/4 power. But it's squared. What do we do with parentheses and powers? What is our exponent law? Remember, we multiply? So we're going to take 1/4 and we're going to times it by 2 and get 2/4. So this is 10 to the 2/4 power, but I kind of want to rewrite that. That fraction 2/4 can simplify to a half. So this is 10 to the half power. And that's our answer. That's our rewritten problem, 10 to the half power. All right, let's try another one. Example 2. Directions are to rewrite the expression in radical form. So we're rewriting in radical, which means square root form. So again, we're going to do two questions, an A and a B. Here's A, 3 to the 1/7 power. Right now it has a fraction power, but we're supposed to rewrite it as a radical form. So that means we're going to change it to the 7th root of 3. And that's it. That's our answer. We rewrote it. Let's try B. 4 to the 5/2 power. Well, it's a fractional power, 4 to the 5/2, and we're going to rewrite it as a root. So 4 to the 5/2 is a little trickier. I have to think of it like this: 4 to the 1/2 times the 5th power. That helps me rewrite this a bit. So rewriting it as a root, 4 to the 1/2 is like the second root of 4 to the 5th power, or just regular square root of 4 to the 5th power. That's our rewritten answer. See how we did that? All right, your turn. You're going to try. For each of these, you've got directions. You're going to rewrite in rational exponent form, and you're going to rewrite in radical form. And I'm going to give you 4 questions. Right now, I want you to copy all of these down, hit the pause button on your device, and see if you can do it all on your own. Good luck. All right, you ready to check your answers? So the first two are rewriting in rational exponent form, so we're doing fractional powers. For A, we've got the 5th root of 12. Well, that's 12 to the 1/5 power. But it's all to the 4th. So we got to times that and make it 12 to the 4/5 power. And that's it. That's our rewritten answer. For letter B, we have -2, but it's 5th root. So that's -2 to the 1/5 to the 3rd power. So we times those powers. That's -2 to the 3/5 power. And it's rewritten. How'd you do on those? Did you figure them out correctly? Did you make any mistakes or get stuck on anything? What did you get stuck on? See if you can figure that out. And then let's do letters C and D, which was rewrite in radical form. So we're putting it back into square roots. So 4 to the 2/3, I'm going to pull that apart and make it 4 to the 1/3 squared. That's the 3rd root of 4 squared. That's my rewritten answer. For letter D, -5 to the 8/3. That's -5 to the 1/3 to the 8th power. So it's the 3rd root of -5 to the 8th power. There's my rewritten answers. How'd you do on those two? Any mistakes that you made? Look for the mistakes, try to figure out where you got stuck, because that's how you don't repeat your mistake. Okay, so those are all rewritten problems, but let's do some evaluate examples. So here is example 3. Now the directions are going to say evaluate the expression. That means to simplify. Here's our problem, 32 to the 1/5 power. 32 to the 1/5 power. That means what's the 5th root of 32? What number, if we times it 5 times, would give you 32? Well, I think 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. So our answer is 2. That's our answer. We evaluated. All right, let's try another one of those. Example 4. Let's evaluate this expression. This time 64 to the 3/2 power. 64 to the 3/2 power. Well, I like to pull that apart and think of it as the square root of 64 to the 3rd power. It's easier for me to think of it that way. What's the square root of 64? 8. 8 times 8 is 64, but it's 8 now to the 3rd power. So we got to do 8 times 8 times 8, which is 512. So our solution, our evaluation comes down to 512. Notice how I kind of split the fraction apart and then put it all back together. Okay, your turn. You're going to evaluate the expressions. I'm going to give you 4 of them. Go ahead and copy all of these into your notebook. Hit the pause button on your device and see if you can do them without my help. Good luck. Okay, let's check your answers and see how you did here. So starting with A, the 3rd root of negative 125. Well, if you do negative 5 times a negative 5 times a negative 5, you get a negative 125. So the answer is negative 5. That's our evaluation. How about B, 9 to the 5/2 power? That's like 9 to the 1/2 to the 5th power. If you break it apart, that's like finding the square root of 9, which is 3. 3 times 3 is 9, but it's 3 to the 5th power. So we got to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 5 times, and that's 243. So how'd you do on A and B? Okay, let's look at C and D. C is negative 64 to the 2/3 power. That's negative 64 to the 1/3 and then squared. That means what do we have to multiply? What's the 3rd root, the cubed root of negative 64? Well, I think it'd be negative 4. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So it's negative 4, but it's squared. So negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Our answer is 16. Let's try D. 256 to the 3/4 power. That's 256 to the 1/4 to the 3rd. So what is the 4th root of 256? 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 is 256. So it's 4 to the 3rd power. And 4 times 4 times 4, 4 to the 3rd power is 64. So the solution is 64. Alright guys, that wraps up this video. Fractional powers and roots can be rewritten, so rewrite means to change how it looks, or they can be evaluated, so you have to pay attention to those directions. And I promise we'll practice in class. Ask me questions if you got them. Thanks guys, bye.